DFS community. Welcome into the Week 7 edition of one of the most accurate DFS shows in the industry. This is episode number 87 of the Adjusted Line Play Report, where we take a deep dive into the play in the trenches to determine game script and player outcomes. This show is presented by Zilla Fantasy Elite. I am your host, Todd Hoffman. You can find myself over on Twitter at ToddZilla1337, and you can find Zilla Fantasy Elite over on Twitter at Zilla Fantasy. Today's show is powered by Rain Total Body Fuel. Looks like the blue in there doesn't want to come in. Oh, there we go. Looking to make it rain some cash in DFS. Tune in to the Adjusted Line Play Report from Zilla Fantasy Elite. Follow host Todd Hoffman while he delivers the most accurate DFS advice in the industry and make it rain. All right, folks, another one of those in jest, but it's Saturday morning, and we're going to use this as the coffee this morning. So good stuff there. Nothing like a little sour gummy worm coffee in the morning. Good stuff. All right. So if you are new to the show, we're going to get underway. We do have London game up here, so we're going to go over that one first. We're going to get into the main slate after that. Then we'll get into the other island game matchups, which is one Sunday night game and then two more Monday night games this week. So that's how the show is going to operate. Really, again, if you're new, what we're doing is pitting the offensive line and the defensive line rankings against each other, and from there determining what that game script might look like and any prop bets that we might be able to make. So, London game this week. Jacksonville technically the home team against the Rams here, so 44.5 Vegas game total. If you're playing island game matchups, this is getting to the point where I start considering kickers and defenses in the game. But it's a 3-point Vegas line for the Rams. They are favored here, so that gives them a 23.75 team implied total. Jacksonville is at 20.75 for their team implied total. Getting into the away team, offensive pass protection number 15 for the Rams, Jacksonville number 29. Big favor here for the offense. This is adjusted sack rate, so this is telling me that the Rams should have time to throw. Most likely going to be without Puka Nacua in this matchup. So if they're going to pass and they're going to have time, it's probably going to be a lot of Devontae Adams targets. Don't know who else. Jordan Whittington might get involved there. They might get the running backs a little bit more involved, tight ends a little bit more involved. But it's really been the Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams show in the past game. So I'd expect Adams to be coming up with a bunch of targets. Pass DVOA also in the favor of the Rams. Rams number 6 on offense, Jacksonville 15. Again, based off of both of these values, I'd expect the Rams to be able to move the ball pretty effectively in the air against this Jacksonville team. And then looking at the run blocking, they're number 1 in run blocking, number 2 in run DVOA are the Rams. Jacksonville number 11 in stopping the run, and number 13 in run DVOA. So Jacksonville near the top 10. The Rams are actually number 1 and number 2. This is in the favor of the Rams. But with Jacksonville being pretty, decent top 10 almost in the run attack, I wouldn't expect a huge game here necessarily out of Kyron Williams and Blake Corum here, but it does look like they will be successful nonetheless, and it does look like this Rams offense altogether will be very, very good against this Jacksonville defense. Now on the Jacksonville side, they're number 18 in pass protection. The Rams are number 12 in the pass rush. So slight favor there for the Rams on defense. Probably need to get the ball out a little bit quicker than they're used to there in Jacksonville. A lot of times when that's the case, you see the tight ends come up with a few more targets. The running backs will get a few more targets. The quarterback might get a few more scrambles in there. So watch out for that. And then pass DVOA heavily in the favor of the Rams defense. Number 5 in the pass DVOA for the Rams on defense. Jacksonville 21st has been struggling a little bit in that regard, a little bit below average. And it does look like they will struggle in this matchup against the Rams. So watch out for that. Not very good for Jacksonville here. And then run blocking. Jacksonville number 4, Rams number 12, and stopping the run. That is pretty heavily favored for Jacksonville, so it's not too bad there. I'd expect them to be able to gain positive yardage with most of their rush attempts. And then the run DVOA, Jacksonville number 6, Rams number 10. Slight favor there for the offense. Does look like the run game will be the better of the two options here for Jacksonville. If they're going to move the ball, it's probably going to be more success doing that on the ground than via the air. So we might see them focus on that during the game. And then both teams, pace of play, Rams are number 2 in neutral situation pace of play, Jacksonville number 6. So they do play pretty quick when the game script is close. That could lead to a few more scoring opportunities, especially for the Rams. This Vegas line, based off of what I'm seeing here, unless Jacksonville's running out the clock, it does look like the Rams should dominate. But the Rams also seem to lay eggs when they don't have Puka Nacua in there. So we'll see what happens here. I think this Vegas line of 3, pretty good. But based off of what we see on paper, does look like the Rams offense should be very successful here, and Jacksonville probably struggles a little bit. With that run game being decent, we could see Jacksonville with quite a few field goals in this. So if you're playing the island game matchup, I wouldn't hate on you for putting the Jacksonville kicker in there. Could be a good game for them. All right, now we're going to get into the main slate. This is where you can make some money in DFS. Try to get you some prop bets in here as well. So Washington heading into Dallas. It's a 54.5 Vegas game total, so pretty interesting there. There's a lot of movement here. So Washington was favored by 1.5 points on Tuesday when I first made this spreadsheet. Now going into Saturday morning, Dallas is favored by 1.5 points. Vegas game total still at 54.5. So Washington losing quite a few points off of their total. I believe they were at 28.5. They are now at 26.5. Dallas now at 28 for their team implied totals. Both of those are good for second and third on the main slate, and that's out of 20 teams. So very, very interesting that we have somebody not favored. That is the third ranked team on the main slate for team implied total. All to say, close game, high Vegas game total. This one, in theory, before we get into it, should be barn burner here. Lots and lots of points. So offensive pass protection, Washington, number 28. Been pretty poor in that regard, taking sacks, but Dallas not generating a lot of sacks. They actually do get a decent amount of pressure. They're just not getting sacks. So Washington may find themselves with a decent amount of time to throw in this, or not getting any drive-killing sacks in that regard. So watch out for that. That's good news for Washington, as they have been pretty bad in that regard. And Washington pass DVOA, actually number 8. Dallas is 31st, though, in pass DVOA. They've been atrocious there. Washington should be very, very good in this department with more time to throw than they're used to. And the pass DVOA being a pretty heavily favor. It does look like a good game for Washington. Now, the problem is Terry McLaurin is ruled out. Sounds like Deebo Samuel is dealing with a foot issue, a heel issue in his foot. Doesn't leave a lot of people there in Washington to take the reins. So you might end up seeing Zach Ertz with quite a few more receptions in this. Just kind of an interesting one. If Terry McLaurin was here, I would very much love this Washington passing side. Without him, it's going to be a little more underneath stuff, I think. Nothing really stretching the field as much. Deebo certainly playing a different role this year than he had with San Francisco, but it should be him and Zach Ertz really in this pass game doing most of the damage here for the Washington side. And then on the run blocking side, if you want to, Luke McCaffrey might be also another name that you can get in there for DFS for dart throws. He might be popular in this. This is a very high game total. And Dallas very known to be very poor against the pass game. So just keep that in mind. It could be a popular Luke McCaffrey. And if that's the case, maybe you don't want to play him in DFS. But run blocking wise, Washington's been pretty good. Number 11 and number 10 in the run categories. Dallas number 24 and 29. I'd expect, he goes by Bill, but Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt, Bill should have a pretty successful game here running the ball. He does seem like the main guy there to take the ball and run it down the throats of Dallas. So I'd expect him to have a pretty good game here as well. Does look like, based off of what we see here, run game should be very good. Pass game should be pretty effective, despite Washington missing a few pieces. So I do like the Washington side in terms of scoring some points. 26.5 seems certainly reasonable with what I see on paper here. And then on the Dallas side, they're number 4 in offensive pass protection, not taking a lot of sacks, though Washington is number 7 in that pass rush category. So I'd expect Dallas actually to be in a little more duress than they have been throughout this season. So they might need to get the ball out a little bit quicker. We should have CD Lamb back. That'll be good for him. Not as good for George Pickens, as I think he does a lot more of the longer, routes, longer route combinations that take a little bit longer to develop. So just keep an eye on that. I don't know if he'll have as good of a game here against Washington based off of this, especially with CD Lamb coming back. We did see Pickens actually kind of adjust what routes and what positions he was playing with CD Lamb out. He was moving all over the field, getting more slot work, and if CD Lamb's coming back, I think he's just going to get pushed back outside. We might see him struggle to gain a ton of targets in this. The only thing that would be a saving grace is if Washington's putting up a bunch of points and Dallas needs to pass the ball. But pass DVOA-wise, Dallas number 10, Washington number 17 in the favor there for Dallas, so they should be okay when they're passing the ball. And then run blocking side, number 6 for Dallas and run blocking. Washington, though, number 5 in stopping the run. And then offensive run DVOA, Dallas number 4, Washington number 11 in the defensive run DVOA. So based off what I'm seeing here, it does look like Dallas might struggle a little bit more than they've been so far this season in terms of scoring points. It does look like Washington should be able to score quite a few points in this. Both teams do play super fast. Number 8 in neutral situation pace of play for Washington, number 6 for Dallas. That does lead me to believe that there should be tons and tons of points. Now, if I'm going to be playing any DFS, actually, I think I'm going to be attacking this Dallas side because I think Washington's going to be able to put up a lot of points against this Dallas team. And then Dallas is going to be more in the throw mode. I think it's going to be Dak, and if they're needing to get the ball out quicker, it's probably going to be a Jake Ferguson game. I don't know what his prop bet is in terms of targets or yards or receptions, but 8 to 9 receptions, I think, is well within range for Ferguson in this matchup. Washington pushing the gas. Dallas is going to need to keep up and need to get the ball out a little bit quicker. I think we do see Ferguson with quite a few targets here, even with CD Lamb coming back. So keep that in mind for your prop bets. That, I think, is going to be a good one in this matchup. And then in terms of this, I'm going to go ahead and say, hey, I think Washington actually goes into Dallas and pulls out the upset here. I know Washington was actually favored at the beginning of the week. All the betting stuff has gone to the Dallas side here throughout the week, and now Dallas is favored. But based off of what I see on paper here, I think Washington can go in there and pull it out. I think maybe the big thing was Terry McLaurin is out. Maybe that moved the lines a little bit here for the favor of Dallas, but really it looks like if Dallas is going to move the ball, it's going to be more of a grind to move the ball up and down the field. Washington should be very successful on a play-by-play basis comparatively. So interesting one here, but I think Washington takes it, and you could see Ferguson with a pretty good game here. All right, number 2 game on the slate here, Indianapolis and LA Chargers. It's a healthy 48.5 game total, but 6 less than the previous game that we were looking at, so keep that in mind. Again, 20 teams here. Indianapolis, Chargers actually 1.5 point home favorites here against Indianapolis, giving them a 25-team implied total. 6th best on the main slate. Indianapolis at 23.5 is the 8th best on the main slate. Indianapolis number 1 in offensive pass protection, not taking a lot of sacks. Chargers number 11 in the defensive pass rush. That's in the favor of Indianapolis. They should have time to throw the ball. Chargers, though, no slouch in terms of getting sacks. Just keep in mind that Indianapolis has been very good about avoiding those sacks, so it could be one of those evenly matched. Indianapolis number 2 in pass DVOA. Chargers number 8 in pass DVOA on defense. Does really look like Indianapolis may not do as well passing the ball as they have been so far this year. They are out Josh Downs this week. Could open up a few more players getting targets there, or getting more targets than they've otherwise been used to, with guys like Pittman there. I think probably fit the bill in terms of what Josh Downs typically did and where those targets might go. Could see a lot more for Jaylen Warren as well, which, if the Chargers are getting after Indianapolis, I could see him get heavily involved. The run blocking side, though, Indianapolis number 5 on run blocking. Chargers middle of the pack at 16, and then run DVOA is a red-green matchup. Indianapolis on offense number 3, Chargers number 26 on defense in the DVOA. I'd expect Jonathan Taylor to have a massive game here. Looks like heavily in the favor of the Indianapolis Colts here, especially if they're struggling a little bit in the pass game. I'd expect them to lean pretty heavily on Jonathan Taylor here, and I expect him to have a pretty good game against the Chargers in a matchup where they're projected to score quite a few points. On the Chargers side, they're number 20 in offensive pass protection. Colts number 19. That's a even up matchup there, so nothing to write home about. Standard day at the office for the quarterback. And then pass DVOA, Indianapolis number 11, Chargers number 18 in the pass DVOA. Slight favor here for the Colts, but nothing too crazy to write home about. Probably just going to be the usual there for the Chargers. Just keep in mind that we do have Mr. First round pick over there a couple of years ago, Quentin Johnston, could be out in this with a hamstring issue. If we do see that, it'd be interesting to see how much run Aranda Gadsden gets as a tight end, especially if Indianapolis is putting up points and the Chargers need to pass the ball. It could be interesting to see what he does in some of your dynasty lineups if you're in 2 tight end leagues, any sicko leagues like that. I have a couple of those, but be interesting to see that anyway. Chargers side for the run game does look like the better of the 2 sides. Pretty even up. Chargers run blocking number 19, Colts on defense number 21. Very even there. And then run DVOA, Chargers 15, Colts 21 again. Slight favor there for the Chargers. This does look, again, like the better of the 2 matchups. Pretty evenly split here between pass game and run game in terms of, hey, it's an okay matchup. There's nothing too bad or too good about either of these options. Does look like the run game probably slightly better. So Kamani Vidal, probably the best option in terms of the run game. I do think, based off of what I see here, Indianapolis is going to be able to move the ball a little bit better than the Chargers. I do think Indianapolis ends up taking this as well. So let's go ahead and give them the upset alert here. I think Indianapolis can pull this out in Los Angeles on this upcoming Sunday. Chargers number 10 in pace of play is pretty healthy. Indianapolis, though, number 19. And I think if they get up to a lead, they're going to be leaning on Jonathan Taylor. And then that neutral situation pace of play when they're leading is also ranked 19th. So not very good comparatively to the rest of the league. All right, number 3 game on the slate here is New Orleans heading into Chicago. It's a 46.5 Vegas game total. Still pretty decent here. You'd like to see them at least here for the 3rd game total on the main slate. But Chicago favored by 4.5 points here at home. And that 46.5 Vegas game total gives them a team implied total of 25.5. 5th best on the main slate. New Orleans at 21 is the 12th best out of the 20 teams. Looking at the New Orleans side, number 10 in offensive pass protection. Chicago, number 23 in the defensive pass rush. Wouldn't expect a lot of sacks here against Spencer Rattler. Should have some time to throw the ball here against the Chicago team. Then the pass DVOA, 23 versus 21 on defense. Pretty even there. In those scenarios, I would say studs eat, especially if they have some time. So Rattler probably has a decent game here. I think he can crest 200 yards. I don't know what his prop bet is. It's probably somewhere around 205 to 215. I think that's well within his range of outcomes based off of what I see here, especially if they're going to be down 4.5 and they're going to need to pass a little bit more. With time to throw, Olave should be good, and we could see a Shaheed sighting here on a long bomb, which is obviously going to pump up his passing volume or his passing yardage pretty quickly. And then the run blocking side, Saints have been below average there, 20th in run blocking, but the Bears 28th in stopping the run. And then defensive run DVOA, Saints 24th, Chicago 22nd. Should see New Orleans move the ball a little bit better than they've been used to so far this season in the run game, combined with the pass game looking a little bit better. Chicago's defense just poor across the board here, so it's probably pretty good for New Orleans scoring some points and being able to push this game a little bit based off of what the Vegas game total is. So interesting one there. Time to throw. Run game should look a little bit better. I think New Orleans may put up some points in this compared to what you've been used to. Chicago side, number 7 in offensive pass protection. Saints 16th in the pass rush. Chicago in the favor there. Wouldn't expect a ton of sacks here from Caleb Williams. And then pass DVOA-wise, Chicago 13th, Saints 27th. Combined with time to throw, this is looking very, very juicy for Caleb Williams. He should be very effective in this. Pass catchers should be very good. Rome Odunze should have a pretty big game in this. We did see coming out of the bye, Luther Burden get more involved. Wouldn't be shocked to see him have a pretty good game here against the Saints team as well. And then the run game, pretty even up in terms of gaining positive yardage or not. On the runs, Saints 14, Chicago 13. Nothing too crazy there, but the run DVOA, Saints number 9, Chicago 27. It's heavily in the favor of the Saints defense, telling me, hey, Swift might struggle in this game to run the ball. It looks like Chicago, if they're going to be moving it, it's going to be via the air more than likely. So interesting one there. I think Chicago moves the ball via the air. Could see a big Caleb Williams game here. Could be a sneaky one here for DFS, pairing him with a couple of options. Especially with that Dallas game probably getting really heavy rostership. I wouldn't be shocked to see Caleb Williams here, Luther Burden, and Rome Odunze possibly having a really, really good matchup here against the Saints, and the Saints being able to keep up a little bit with those points to push this game going. And both teams do play pretty quick. So Saints number 1 in the league in terms of neutral situation pace of play. And Chicago, number 9 in neutral situation pace of play. So I do like the chances of this game maybe hitting the over on this. I think the Saints can score over 21 points here. Chicago, not as good of a matchup, especially with that run game being not so good in this matchup. But I think this pass game is very, very good in this. I think Chicago has a lot of scoring drives. Some of them might end in field goals here, but with the run game being so bad, but I think that pass game is going to make up for it. I think the pass game can score 3 touchdowns in this, and then a couple of field goals, easily get them over that 25.5 Vegas game total there, so keep that in mind. Looks like a nice one for DFS in general, with some Saints run backs there, and Chris Olave or Rashid Shaheed, which should be really low rostered people in DFS matchups. All right, fourth highest Vegas game total on the main slate. We have a divisional matchup here. Kansas City taking on Vegas in Kansas City. So 45.5 Vegas game total. So fourth best on the main slate. Kansas City favored by 12 at home against a pretty poor Vegas team. We do have Kansas City number 1 on the main slate at 28.75. And then Vegas at 18. I'm not sure. That's one of the lowest 3 teams anyway at 16.75. I don't know if they're tied with the rest of the other 2 teams or if there's 2 teams worse than Vegas in here. But I do know there's a really low Vegas game total of 36 on the main slate. So one of those teams might be below Vegas. On the Vegas side, 26 in pass protection. Chiefs number 9 in defensive pass rush. Big favor here for Kansas City's pass rush. I'd expect Geno Smith to be under pressure, needing to get the ball out quickly. Could see a lot of Ashton Genty in the pass game. Should see a lot of Michael Mayer in the pass game as well. And then any underneath routes there in Vegas, which typically last few seasons has been Jacoby Myers. Would expect that to continue. Pass DVOA, Vegas number 30, Kansas City 18. This all being told, Vegas pass game does look pretty bad in this environment. If you're placing prop bets, Geno Smith has been throwing tons and tons of interceptions. This Vegas line of 12 suggests that they are going to be down and needing to pass, to be under pressure. I wouldn't mind hitting that slider on over 1.5 interceptions. I wouldn't be shocked to see him throw multiple interceptions in this, but a lot of sites you can do at least the half interception. I think that's almost a guarantee in this matchup. And then the run blocking side, Vegas number 30 in run blocking, Kansas City number 26 in stopping the runs. A lot of people getting positive yardage here in Kansas City. Vegas's offensive line is just poor in general. You can see across the board here, they're very bad. Hasn't been good for Genty, but I think he should gain positive yardage in this matchup here against Vegas. So would expect to see him gain positive yardage when he is running the ball. And then run DVOA, number 31 on offensive run DVOA, Kansas City middle of the pack at 16. Heavily in the favor there of the defense. Wouldn't expect a ton of offensive explosion here from Ashton Genty against this Kansas City team, but he should gain positive yardage on most of his run plays, at least compared to what he has been doing so far this season. Now on the Kansas City side, are they going to put up 28.5 points? Kansas City number 8 in offensive pass protection, Vegas 16th in middle of the pack there in the pass rush. Slight favor there for Kansas City. I've been seeing Mahomes scramble a lot more, avoid those sacks. That's probably partially why the offensive pass protection's at number 8, because that's an adjusted sack rate. Pass DVOA, Vegas number 10 in pass DVOA, Kansas City number 7 in pass DVOA. Pretty even matchup. In those scenarios, we say, hey, studs eat. I don't know. We got Rashee Rice coming back here for Kansas City. Could be an interesting one with him getting more involved. Maybe we see, or getting him involved, maybe we see quite a few pass attempts go his way just to get him back into the groove of things. Will be interesting to see that usage in his first game back. I think he ends up being wide receiver 1. We have Worthy probably as a second option, and then Kelsey as the third option there in Kansas City. And then splitting the rest of that stuff between Juju Smith-Schuster, Hollywood Brown, and company. We could actually see Kelsey just take a step back in terms of usage to save him for the playoff run. It seems to be what Kansas City's done the last couple of years with him. He doesn't produce as much during the regular season. Then when playoff time comes, they kind of switch their offensive tactic, get Kelsey heavily involved, and he kind of takes over some of those games. Run game side, Kansas City number 8 in offensive run blocking, Vegas 18th in stopping the run. Huge favor here for Kansas City. Should be gaining lots of positive yardage there. Then run DVOA, number 5 for Kansas City, Vegas number 20. Should see lots of explosive runs, lots of offensive output here in Kansas City's run game. With the pass game being not as great, I think Pacheco last game had a very big pie share of the rushing output there and the rushing snaps. So I think Pacheco in this matchup actually has a pretty good game. I don't know if he's going to be started in a lot of leagues, but based off of this, I would actually be comfortable with him, inside my top 15, top 12 running backs this week. I think if KC is going to be favored by 12, they're going to be leaning on the run a bunch, and I think they get Pacheco heavily involved here. Probably have Kareem Hunt. Didn't seem like he was as involved last week, but if Kansas City's up a bunch, maybe they're just going to lean on Hunt too. But really, I think before this game gets out of control, we could see Pacheco have a pretty decent game. I wouldn't be shocked to see him get 70 or 80 first half yards and a touchdown in this, and then maybe they start leaning on Kareem Hunt after that. But I think Pacheco is definitely startable in your leagues this week. All right. Number 5, Vegas game total on the main slate at 44.5 is Green Bay heading into Arizona. Green Bay actually 7-point away favorites, so the road team there favored, giving them a 25.75 team implied total, good for 4th on the main slate. Arizona at 18.75 is 16th on the main slate. Green Bay offensive pass protection, number 10. Arizona number 27 in that pass rush. I'd expect Green Bay to have lots and lots and lots of time to throw the ball in this matchup. Looking pretty good in that department. And then pass DVOA, number 9 for Green Bay, number 12 there for Arizona. Pretty even there. Situation where I normally would say studs eat, especially with lots and lots of time to throw. This one could be interesting. Could see some deep shots in this. I'm not really sure from Green Bay who their deep threat is, if that's Wicks or if that's Golden getting down field. I haven't really seen a whole lot in terms of who they have running a lot of those deeper routes. It could just be a mixture of all their players, but does look pretty good here for the pass game to have time to throw or at least attempt some of those. And then the run game, Green Bay 16, Arizona 20. Nothing crazy here. Slight favor for the Green Bay side. And then run DVOA, number 11 for Green Bay, 18 for Arizona. Again, slight favor here for the Green Bay side. I expect that run game to be decent. If they're up and leading, I'd expect them to lean heavily on Jacobs and the run game here in Green Bay to close out that game. Lots of time to throw and being successful in the run game. Pass game being an okay matchup, I would expect Green Bay to have long, continuous drives that are ending in success. So keep that in mind. Green Bay probably scoring quite a few points in this. Arizona side, number 27 in offensive pass protection. Green Bay, though, number 23 in that pass rush. So not generating a lot of sacks despite having Micah Parsons and a really good defensive front there. They might be getting lots of pressure, just not getting a lot of sacks. So keep that in mind. But Arizona 27th, taking a lot of sacks. That's with Kyler Murray in there. We did see an improvement with Jacoby Brissett in terms of offensive output in the pass game. So keep that in mind. They could have a decent amount of time to throw here, or at least not taking a bunch of sacks like they have been in the past. But the pass DVOA is really poor. Green Bay number 2 in the NFL. Arizona 22nd in pass DVOA. If they're going to be successful passing, it's probably going to need to be, more underneath stuff, which probably fits Arizona's play style more anyway with McBride. And Marvin Harrison does sound like he's going to play in this, which is good for their pass game, but really looking like they're going to get the clamps put on them on the pass game side. Unfortunately for them, because the run game looks really bad. Green Bay number 6 in stopping the run. Arizona 29th in run blocking. I'd expect who's ever running the ball there in Arizona to get stopped at or behind the line of scrimmage frequently and then not be very explosive. Run DVOA, Green Bay a little bit above average at 14. Arizona in the red at number 25. So really, really heavily in the favor of Green Bay's defense in the run side. Run pass DVOA is really good here. The only thing of note is the adjusted sack rate. They might not be getting sacked, but Green Bay might be getting pressure. Again, this isn't a pressure rate rating, but an adjusted sack rating depending on when they get home for those sacks. So really looking like it's going to be a struggle here for Arizona's offense. Again, most of this is with Kyler Murray. It could be a little bit better with Jacoby Brissett, and it does sound like he's probably going to start. He's been taking all the snaps with the first team this week, and Kyler Murray's been working with the scout team. So it does seem like they're prepping for Jacoby Brissett to start in this matchup against Green Bay. Unfortunately, it does look like Green Bay's got a pretty good defense and might struggle to move the ball there for Jacoby Brissett. So in terms of pace of play, Green Bay really slow, number 24, Arizona middle of the pack. I don't know. Green Bay, slow, methodical drives, running the ball a bunch, might drain that clock. I don't know if we see this 44.5 Vegas game total hit. Green Bay could certainly hit their team implied total just with how many times they're going to be in scoring position, but Arizona I think is going to struggle mightily to put up 18 points here, so will be an interesting one there, but I think the Vegas game total 44.5, while decent, might be a little bit high here for this game. All right, sixth best game total on the main slate is at 43.5. It's Philadelphia taking on the Minnesota Vikings. Philadelphia actually 2-point road favorites here heading into Minnesota. Sounds like we got a revenge game here for Carson Wentz, which will be interesting. But yeah, 22.75 team implied total for Philadelphia, 10th best on the main slate, 20.75 for the Vikings, 13th best on the main slate. Philly offensive pass protection wise, number 23. They've been taking quite a few sacks. This offense in general just looks very, very stale. Not good at all. We saw them get dominated by the Giants defense last week on Thursday night in a primetime game. Very embarrassing loss here. Philadelphia actually lost 2 straight here, coming off of losses from Bo Nix and Jackson Dart, which is kind of embarrassing for them. So, but yeah, 23 in offensive pass protection. Minnesota number 3 in defensive pass rush. I would expect them to struggle a little bit in terms of picking up all of these different things that Brian Flores does in Minnesota. I'd expect Minnesota to be able to generate a few sacks in this matchup against Philadelphia. In the pass DVOA, Philly number 14, Minnesota number 6 in the defensive pass DVOA. Really looks like Minnesota's defense should be in the favor here. Not a good game for any of the wide receivers or Jalen Hurts in this particular matchup unless he's scrambling and getting out of the pocket and gaining some rushing yards. If they need to get the ball out a little bit quicker, that usually does favor Dallas Goedert. We could see Barkley get a little bit more involved. A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith, not necessarily as good of targets, but A.J. Brown probably the better wide receiver of the two in terms of getting the ball out quickly. To him, I think he runs a few more of the underneath routes compared to Devonta Smith. So keep that in mind. Run blocking for Philly has been very bad. Number 32 in run blocking. Minnesota number 17. That's pretty heavily favored of Minnesota. Barkley might be getting stopped at or behind the line of scrimmage quite often in this game. And then the run DVOA, Philadelphia number 17, Minnesota 23rd. That's slightly in the favor here of Philly. And it does look like, based off of this, if Philadelphia is going to have any success on offense, it's going to be running the ball against this Minnesota defense. Might be kind of volatile in terms of getting hit at or behind the line of scrimmage, but then you might pop off some pretty big runs here and there for Philly. Based off of that, a volatile run game with a pass game that doesn't look very good. I don't see Philadelphia scoring a ton of points in this. This 22.75 seems a little high based off of what we're seeing here, especially when their situation pace of play is 25th in the NFL. Now on the Minnesota side, they're number 32 in offensive pass protection, taking lots and lots of sacks. That really hasn't improved with Carson Wentz. He's been prone to that in his career anyway, not getting rid of the ball when he should just throw it out of bounds. He just holds on to it and takes sacks. So could continue here in that regard. Philadelphia number 21 in the pass rush isn't very good. It's a little bit below average. So maybe Minnesota has a little bit more time than they're used to throw the ball. It sounds like Jalen Carter might be out of this game. I did see some information earlier this week on that, so watch out. If he's out, Minnesota could have a little bit better time on offense here, but really maybe they have a little bit more time than they're used to throw against this Philly defense. Pass DVOA, Philadelphia number 13, Minnesota 26. Pretty heavily in the favor there of the Philadelphia defense, so wouldn't expect Minnesota's pass game to be very good in this matchup. Justin Jefferson usually gets his in some fashion or another, but it doesn't look like a very good matchup there. The run game, though, looks really good for Minnesota. Philly number 31 in stopping the run. Minnesota number 7 in run blocking. I'd expect lots of positive yardage for Jordan Mason. He should have a pretty good game here. I think Aaron Jones will be back from his injury this week. I'm not entirely sure, but he could be pretty good as well. Then the run DVOA, Philadelphia number 24, Minnesota 14. So this does look like a very good matchup for the Minnesota run offense. I'd expect them to move the ball against Philadelphia in this fashion. Philadelphia is probably going to have to do the same thing on their offensive side and run the ball. This 43.5 Vegas game total, I think, is probably a little high. Minnesota maybe ekes out 21 points here. Philadelphia, I don't think, makes their team implied total. All to say, I think we're going to see the Vegas game total less than this. And I'm going to go ahead and sound the alert here for an upset. Philadelphia maybe loses their 3rd game in a row here heading into Minnesota. Only saving grace here is Minnesota's pass game doesn't look like it's going to be very effective. So could be one of these 17-14 type games, and hard fought. Whoever has possession in the last, possession of the fourth quarter ends up kicking the field goal to win this game. All right, we got 4 more games to go on the main slate here. So New England heading into Tennessee as the 7th best game total on the main slate at 42.5. We do have New England as 7-point road favorites, so we got a lot of road favorites this week. That's a 24.75 team implied total for those of you doing the math on the New England side. Tennessee side at 17.75 is 17th out of the 20 teams. New England offensive pass protection number 25 has been pretty poor. Tennessee, though, is number 25 in that pass rush. This is telling me New England should have more time than they're used to throw. It's going to be very good for Drake May. The dude does seem like a legit quarterback. Him and Penix, I think, were my top 2 coming out of that draft class. So it does seem like those 2 are doing pretty well. But all told here, New England should be very good in terms of having time to throw against this Tennessee squad. Pass DVOA, number 4 for New England, despite taking quite a few sacks, which they shouldn't in this game. But they've been very, very explosive in their pass game. So number 4 pass DVOA versus Tennessee's number 22. I'd expect that to continue pretty heavily here for New England. Obviously, Diggs seems like the number 1 wide receiver there, but we have seen Kayshon Boutte with quite a few, not quite a few, but a couple of pop-off games here where he's gone over 100 yards with multiple touchdowns. Could be another one of those scenarios here for him against this Tennessee team. Run blocking wise, New England's been very bad, number 23 in run blocking. Tennessee's run stopping, number 15. So their defensive line has been doing an all right job in terms of stopping those running backs. That probably continues here this week for New England, where they're getting hit at or behind the line of scrimmage about as frequently or maybe a little more than they have been all season. Then run DVOA, New England number 32, Tennessee number 27. New England should be, okay in the run game here. What really I think is going to drive this is New England pass game. Looks like that's going to be the big factor here. This run game should be better than they have been throughout the season, but really doesn't look like they're going to do a ton there. Obviously, Ramondre Stevenson does look like the top back here in New England. If New England gets out big and they're up, we could see Ramondre Stevenson just, take the reins and really ice the game here for New England. But does look like that run game hasn't been very good. Should be better against Tennessee here. But I think New England, they're going to move the ball passing it, and they're going to be very effective doing that. So I expect them to have a pretty good, solid pass game here, even if they are leading. I think Drake May continues to push the pedal here in the pass attack. Tennessee-wise, they've been really bad in the pass department. 30th in offensive pass protection. New England, middle of the pack at 14 for the pass rush. Should be able to generate some sacks here, get them under some pressure. Tennessee, it's standard day for them in terms of taking sacks. Pass DVOA-wise, though, New England 29, Tennessee 32nd. Tennessee's been very bad, but New England's pass DVOA has been pretty poor too. Could see them with a little bit more success here, but we do have Kelvin Ridley out now. So with him out, we should see Alec Eilmaner with a lot more targets. Any of those backup wide receivers now become a little bit more interesting. But with him out, and they've been game planning for that, I think we see Chigakonkwo and maybe Tajay Spears get a lot more involved here, especially if they're needing to get the ball out a little bit quicker. I'd be very interested in those two in terms of what their prop bets are. I bet they're not very good for targets and receptions and receiving yards, but I think they could go over here against this New England team, especially if New England's pushing the pace, making Tennessee throw the ball. Run game looks very poor for Tennessee. New England number 3 in stopping the run, Tennessee 14th in run blocking. So that's in the favor of New England. Would expect a lot of at or behind the line of scrimmage tackles here against Tennessee's running backs, which is Spears and Pollard, and then not being very explosive. New England number 7 in run DVOA on defense, Tennessee 26. That's a green-red matchup. In the favor of the defense, really expect Tennessee's run game to struggle. This pass game, Does look like the better of the two matchups, unfortunately, because they've been really bad. But all to say, I think could be an interesting one for some of these pass options that need to get the ball out a little bit quicker. Don't know enough about Alec Iomanner and what kind of routes he's running, but I do think we do see Spears and Chigaquonk get a little bit more involved in the pass game and be pretty successful this week. Not enough to get in your DFS lineups, but play some prop bets on. I think it'll be good this week. All right, number 8 game on the slate. Interesting one here. Carolina heading into New York Jets as the away team, and they have a 41.5 Vegas game total for them. Again, 8th best on the main slate. That gives Carolina with 1.5 point road favorites. Again, a lot of road favorites this week. Carolina is a 21.5 team implied total. The Jets at 20. A couple of interesting teams here with really volatile offenses and defenses here, so could be an interesting one to look at. Carolina number 10 in offensive pass protection, Jets number 19. Slightly in the favor there of Carolina. I'd expect them to have a decent amount of time to throw in this, not taking a ton of sacks. Pass DVOA-wise, Carolina 27th, the Jets 30th. So Carolina's been pretty poor, but we have seen the Jets be very bad as well. So this basically tells me, hey, with time to throw, they should be a lot more successful than they have been throughout the year. I think Ted McMillan actually sees a pretty good game here. Wouldn't be shocked to see him go over 100 yards and a touchdown in this against this Jets defense. Could be an interesting one there. Run blocking wise, it's pretty evenly matched. So Carolina number 3 in run blocking, Jets number 8 in stopping the run. And then run DVOA, Carolina number 7, Jets number 4. Again, pretty evenly matched here in terms of the run attack. We do have Dowdle the last 2 weeks being very, very good, but we do have Chuba Hubbard coming back, so those two are going to split carries. You're going to want to avoid both of them in DFS, and it's tough to start either of them in any of your season-long matchups because I don't think this is a matchup where they're necessarily going to get the volume nor the success in a matchup like this. I think it's going to be a pretty solid Bryce Young game. Ted McMillan gets heavily involved here as well. It'll be an interesting one for a Carolina pass game against this Jets defense. And then the Jets offensive side. So they're 31st in pass protection, taking quite a few sacks. That's Justin Fields' MO, holding onto the ball way too long. Fortunately for him, Carolina number 32 in that pass rush. They've been very, very bad in that regard all year. So Justin Fields could have a lot of time to throw in this matchup, which is going to be good for him. If they are getting a little bit of pass rush, he's probably going to be able to get out and get mobile. In terms of the pass DVOA, Carolina very poor at number 26. The Jets obviously have not been very good at 29. So this is also, we should see some more success passing the ball here for the Jets. Unfortunately, we do have Garrett Wilson out now. So who is Justin Fields going to pass to? It might be nobody. We might see Mason Taylor with like 100 targets in this. It seems like he is their number 2 option. Otherwise, they got guys like Alan Lazard and Josh Reynolds, Arian Smith. They got Tyler Johnson, the old Gophers wide receiver. So it will be interesting there. All to say, hey, if they don't have anybody besides Mason Taylor to throw the ball to, maybe that just leads to more Justin Fields scrambles, and he ends up getting quite a few rush attempts and rush yards in this, because this run game does not look like a very good option for the Jets. They're 28th in run blocking, 23rd in run DVOA. Carolina, surprisingly, number 7 in stopping the run, number 3 in run DVOA. So they've been very good against the run, not very good against the pass. So Jets, yeah, it really looks like this pass game is going to be the better of the two options. Same with Carolina, but I don't know who they're going to pass to for New York Jets. Should be an interesting one to see what actually comes about from there. Two slow-paced teams with pretty poor matchups outside of the pass game. So it will be interesting. I think Carolina does take this. I don't know who's really going to do well from the Jets. It might be Breece Hall getting more involved because nobody else is going to be open. Justin Fields probably going to need to scramble more, get the ball out to his underneath targets, which would be Breece Hall, Mason Taylor, and go from there. But yeah, really, I think Carolina takes this. Pass game should be very good for Carolina. Run game not as well. And then Jets in that pass game might be how they actually move it, but who they move that through remains to be a mystery. All right, number 9 game total on the main slate. New York Giants heading into Denver. It's a 40-point game total. The last two teams here actually to beat the defending Super Bowl champions, so will be an interesting scenario there. Both teams playing well the last couple of weeks to beat the Philadelphia Eagles team. That seems like a stale offense. Anyway, it's a 7-point Vegas game total for Denver at home, giving them a 23.5 Vegas game total, or team implied total on that 40 Vegas game total. That's 8th best team on the main slate. New York Giants at 16.5 is the worst team on the main slate. Giants, number 22 in offensive pass protection. Denver, number 1 in the pass rush. I'd expect them to be under duress. Could lead to some Jackson Dart rush attempts, but we've seen Denver play a lot of mobile quarterbacks and do very, very well against them, including Justin Fields last week. He only had like 21 yards of rushing or something like that. So Denver's offense has been very good about shutting down these mobile quarterbacks. Could see that continue here against the Giants. Pass DVOA number 25. Denver 7th in the pass DVOA. Heavily in the favor of Denver's defense here against Jackson Dart and company there. Run game, Giants number 18 in run blocking, number 18 in run DVOA. Denver number 10 and number 8. So green across the board for Denver's defense. Giants, a little bit below average there in the run game. I'd expect Denver to shut down this Giants team. Giants not put up a lot of points. Could see Jackson Dart really have a dud game here. Scadaboo and Tyrone Tracy not doing very well. If the Giants are going to do anything on offense, passing the ball, they're going to need to get that ball out quick. This is going to lead to more underneath passes, probably to Tyrone Tracy, Theo Johnson, and Wan'Dale Robinson. So keep that in mind. Those are going to be the biggest beneficiaries, I think, in that pass game. For the Denver offensive side, they're number 2 in pass protection, not taking a lot of sacks. Giants number 15 in the adjusted sack rate. So the middle of the pack there in that regard. And then pass DVOA, Giants number 16, Denver number 19. Really even up matchup there with probably an okay amount of time to throw for Bo Nix. Really nothing to write home about here. Pass game should be okay, but not great. And then run game, Denver number 9 in run blocking. Giants number 19 in stopping the run. Should see some positive yardage out of that run game. J.K. Dobbins should be pretty good there. And then that run DVOA, Giants 31st, Denver middle of the pack at 16. Again, Denver looking good in that run game with an okay pass game here. I expect Denver to be able to put up some points, especially if they're shutting down this Giants offense and getting the ball back. I'd actually expect to see J.K. Dobbins with a pretty solid game here against the Giants this week. Start him with confidence, I believe. Wouldn't be shocked to see him with the multiple touchdown game against the Giants here, depending on how Denver wants to score their points when they get down to the red zone. All right, and the worst game on the main slate, Miami heading into Cleveland. Cleveland actually 2.5-point home favorites there, which is really surprising. It's a 36 Vegas game total. That's one of the worst ones we've seen in quite some time. Especially, I think this year is probably the worst we've seen. That Cleveland side, 19.25 for their team implied total, 2.5-point home favorites. Miami at 16.75, tied for 18th, which is the second worst game total out of the 20 teams. Miami, offensive pass protection, number 17. Cleveland 16 in that pass rush. So not generating a ton of sacks, kind of middle of the pack. This is really telling us it's an even up matchup. They do have Myles Garrett, who applies a lot of pressure and needs to be accounted for on the defense. But outside of that, Cleveland not really getting home for those sacks, and Miami not taking a ton of sacks. So pass DVOA side, number 24, number 24. This looks like an even up matchup. Studs should eat. I think Jalen Waddle could have a pretty good game in this, especially if Cleveland's getting some pressure and they need to get the ball out quicker. We could see Tua get him involved. and get that ball out quicker. Devon Achan's always an option in that pass game as well. Darren Waller could be an interesting one, especially if Miami is down a little bit in this. On the run blocking side, Cleveland's been very good in that department, number one across the board in both run DVOA and run stopping. Miami 24th in run blocking, so a lot of at or behind the line of scrimmage stuff for Devon Achan this year. Not a very good offensive line, and then run DVOA number 13 for Miami. It's pretty decent, a little bit above average, but if Miami's going to move the ball, it's going to be via the air. This run game doesn't look very good on paper, so Devon Achan, if he's going to be scoring points, probably going to be via the air here against Cleveland. And then the Cleveland side, number 14 in offensive pass protection, Miami 21st in pass rush. They've been not generating a lot of sacks. Cleveland, I think, is going to be okay with time to throw here. Could be interesting there for the quarterback situation with some time to throw. Who are they going to get that ball to? We have Njoku ruled out, so could be very interesting for Harold Fannin here. Miami's pass DVOA number 32. Cleveland's been very bad in that department, number 31. But this is really telling me, hey, Cleveland's probably going to have more time to throw than they've been used to. And their pass game should be very successful in this matchup against Miami's defense. Could be interesting. We'll see if they decide to throw the ball a little bit deeper on this. We've seen that rookie basically get the ball out really quick, dink and dunk, everything under 10 yards in his first couple of starts, which has really benefited Harold Fannin. And with Njoku out, Fannin really is going to get a bump up in usage this week, so could be interesting. Miami's run defense is also very bad, number 30 in stopping the run, 28th in run DVOA. Cleveland hasn't been very good in run blocking, 22nd in run blocking, 28th in run DVOA, but against this Miami team, I think they will see a lot of success. Judkins could get very heavily involved in this. Cleveland should be able to move the ball effectively in the pass game too, so I think Judkins is going to have a very solid game here against Miami. I wouldn't be shocked to see Cleveland well over this 19-point mark. Miami with some time to throw. I think this game actually hits the over on this Vegas game total of 36. This doesn't look very good. I don't know if there's wind or anything going on in Cleveland. They have some wild weather every once in a while, but I think it's probably going to be an all right matchup for them, for Miami as well. So I like the over in this Vegas game total. I think Cleveland can move the ball very effectively on the ground and very effectively throughout the air. Miami should be okay with their underneath routes and whatnot in the pass game. I think Waller and Waddle and Achan are effective enough here to get Miami over the 17 points that they need to beat this team implied total. All right, that does it for the main slate. Now we're going to get into the island game matchups here. Sunday Night Football first, and then a couple Monday Night Football games. Sunday Night Football should be a very good one for the NFL. Interesting teams here. Atlanta heading into San Francisco. We have San Francisco at the moment, 1.5-point home favorites. We do have Brock Purdy ruled out, and Ricky Pearsall also ruled out, but we do have George Kittle coming back, saying he's not going to be on a snap count of any sort, so a very welcome addition there, I am sure, on the San Francisco side. But 47.5 Vegas game total. If you're looking at island game matchups, that's high enough where I start saying, hey, I probably want all offensive players in the optimal lineup. That gives San Francisco a 24.5 team implied total. Atlanta at 23 for their team implied total. Pretty healthy amounts there, and looks like it, according to Vegas, should be a close game. Atlanta number 2 in pass protection. San Francisco number 28 in that pass rush. Should have lots of time to throw here for Michael Penix Jr. That should be good for him. They did just lose Fred Warner, so that's another good option for Atlanta's offense. The pass DVOA, Atlanta middle of the pack at 15, San Francisco 23rd in the pass DVOA. Very heavily in the favor here of Atlanta's pass game. Should have time to throw, should be fairly explosive passing the ball. Would expect to see Drake London and company have a pretty successful game here. Wouldn't be shocked to see Pitts with a good matchup here as well. Then run blocking, Atlanta 21st, San Francisco 23rd. We should see Bijan Robinson be a little bit more successful in terms of getting the ball forward at each and every run. And then run DVOA slightly in the favor of the Falcons, number 12 versus 19 on defense. And that was with Fred Warner, and he is out now, so could see Atlanta really go off. This 23-point Vegas game total for them, I think, is a little low based off of what I'm seeing here. We should see them move the ball pretty effectively in this matchup against San Francisco. So I really like the over with this Atlanta team. The San Francisco side, they are number 10 in pass protection. Falcons number 2 in that pass rush. Been very good in that department. They're getting a lot of pressure. We have seen Mac Jones struggle throughout his career against pressure, so that could be interesting. Pass DVOA for Atlanta is number 1, San Francisco number 12. If they need to get the ball out quicker, though, they do have CMC, and they're going to have George Kittle back, who probably helped that out immensely. And we could see this turn out to be pretty effective if they need to get the ball out quick for San Francisco, even though the matchup isn't very good. They do line up very well in terms of needing to get the ball out quick or dump it off to somebody underneath. They have very, very, very good weapons in that regard. And then the run game, Atlanta 29th in stopping the run. San Francisco been pretty poor as well, 25. But probably see Christian McCaffrey with some positive yardage compared to what he's been used to so far this season. But in terms of the explosive play, it's probably not happening. San Francisco 29th in run DVOA, Atlanta 12. So I wouldn't expect the run attack to be necessarily super successful, but they should be able to move the ball forward when they do run it. San Francisco, number 5 in offensive neutral situation. Atlanta, 23rd. Based on what I see here, this 47.5 Vegas game total is pretty healthy. San Francisco maybe struggles a little bit on offense, but I think Atlanta really looking good on offense here. I think they can score quite a few points on San Francisco. And based off of, San Francisco's personnel, I think they can actually overcome some of this Atlanta defense stuff to put up points. So I'm going to go ahead and say the biggest game total. I'd be okay betting the over on this. And I'm actually going to go ahead and say Atlanta going to go into San Francisco and upset them in their home turf. Seen a lot of home upsets here and a lot of away favorites. So interesting one here where the away teams maybe win quite a bit this week. All right, we have 2 Monday Night Football games, one early and then one late. If you're on the East Coast, I'm sorry, it starts at 10 p.m. and the other game with Houston. So the first one, though, should be a decent one. Tampa Bay heading into Detroit. It's a 52.5 Vegas game total. When it's that high, you want all offensive players on your optimal lineups probably. On that 52.5 Vegas game total, we have Detroit 5.5 point home favorites, giving them a 29-point team implied total. Tampa Bay at 23.5. Those are the top 2 teams on the Monday slate. Let's keep that in mind. Tampa Bay, number 6 in offensive pass protection, number 3 in pass DVOA, so they've been very, very good in the pass game. Detroit, though, number 4 in the pass rush, so they've been able to get home, get some sacks. Could see Baker under some pressure here, needing to get the ball out quicker. Probably an interesting one here with all of the players out on the wide receiver core for Tampa Bay. They're probably going to need to lean on Cade Otton and Rachaad White in the pass game. I'd expect that probably to be how they're going to have to deal with this Detroit defense and generating some pressure. So be an interesting one there. Can Tampa Bay move the ball through those two in a game like this? That pass DVOA, Tampa Bay number 3 and Detroit 14 is in the favor of Tampa Bay, but that's with a lot of their weapons that they no longer have this week. It sounds like Mike Evans is questionable to play, but we'll see if he can play in this matchup. Otherwise, it's going to be a backup squad there for Tampa Bay and the wide receiver team, wide receiver number 4 through 7 or 8 that they had coming into the season. Run blocking aside, Tampa Bay number 12 in run blocking, Detroit 22nd. So I'd expect Tampa Bay to be able to gain positive yardage when they do run the ball. They've been pretty effective in that regard this year. Even with Bucky Irving out, we've seen Rachaad White step in and be pretty successful there. Run DVOA, though, Tampa Bay number 19, Detroit number 5, so not a ton of explosion or offensive output for the run game here in Tampa Bay, but we should see them gain positive yardage. Will be interesting here to see how well Tampa Bay can move the ball if they have to keep everything underneath. Detroit side, number 8 in offensive pass protection. Tampa Bay generating quite a few sacks at number 9, so they could be generating some pressure here against Detroit, but the pass DVOA is a different story. Detroit number 5, Tampa Bay number 20. Tampa Bay is a pass funnel defense, so they're very good on the run side, and that forces teams to pass, so we could see a pretty solid game here from Jared Goff in Monday Night Football primetime game, getting the ball to his players. Based off of what I see on that pass rush, I would say it's more of an Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs type week for them to get quite a few targets and be very explosive when they do get those targets. The run game looking pretty poor, so Tampa Bay number 2 in stopping the run, Detroit number 10 in run blocking. And then Tampa Bay number 6 in run DVOA, Detroit number 8. So in the favor here of Tampa Bay's defense, Detroit's going to find the run game a little bit more of a struggle this week. Probably not a good game for David Montgomery. Wouldn't be shocked to see him under 5 fantasy points in this if he doesn't score. Doesn't look like a good game for him, but Gibbs is not game script dependent if they are needing to get the ball out. If they're trailing, Gibbs gets some receptions. If they're struggling in the run game, but the pass game needs to get the ball out quick, we see Gibbs get involved in the pass game as well. So could be an interesting one there. That 52.5 Vegas game total, based off of what I'm seeing here, does not look very accurate. I would say it hits the under. The only thing saving it could be Detroit's pass game. This 20-5 matchup, it could be very, very explosive, getting the ball out to Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, maybe Laporta as well, getting the ball out a little bit quicker. Tampa Bay may struggle on offense, but that 52.5 Vegas game total, I don't think Tampa Bay going to be able to do that well on offense, and we could see Detroit struggle a little bit, especially in that run game. So the 52.5, I'm fine betting the under actually on that. Then the last game on the adjusted line play report this week is Monday Night Football. Houston heading into Seattle. Seattle 3-point home favorites on a 41.5 Vegas game total, giving Seattle a 22.25 team implied total. Houston at 19.25 for their team implied total. Third and fourth ranked on the main slate here. On the Monday slate. Houston, number 23 in offensive pass protection. Seattle, very good at number 6 in their pass rush. I expect Houston to be under a little bit of duress, needing to get the ball out quicker to some of their receivers. So it could be a struggle there for them to get that ball out that quickly. Pass DVOA 16 for Houston, number 9 for Seattle. Slight favor here for Seattle's defense. All told, looks like Houston might struggle a little bit here in the pass game. Run game is actually even worse. Number 17 in run blocking for Houston. Seattle number 4 in stopping the run. Then run DVOA for Houston number 22. Seattle second in stopping the run. So Houston run game looks like it's going to be very bad. It looked like that going into the season, and it looks like it's not going to be very good against Seattle here. With that pass game also struggling. I don't see Houston putting up a lot of points. It's 19. Seems accurate, maybe a little high based off of what I see here. Seattle side, number 5 in pass protection. Houston, number 13 in pass rush. Maybe a little bit of pressure compared to what Seattle's been used to, but they've been very good in that regard. Pass DVOA, though. Houston, number 3. Seattle, number 1. We might see Seattle struggle here, passing the ball a little bit more than we've been used to, especially against this Houston team. And then the run game's pretty neutral. Number 26 in run blocking for Seattle. Houston 25th in stopping the run. Houston number 17 in run DVOA. Seattle number 21 there. So really ugly game here. I don't see a lot of points being scored. I know it's a 41.5 Vegas game total, but that almost seems a little high to me. Really, it looks like Seattle's going to win this based off of what I see. They do have an okay matchup. They're just they're number 1 in pass DVOA, but the defense number 3. And then it's very even up in the run game. We should see actually that Seattle run game be more successful than we have so far this season. I think Seattle could move the ball a little bit. It's just going to be a struggle for them, I think, to get into the red zone and score touchdown. So I think we see Seattle's kicker here with a pretty good game against Houston. Houston struggling to put up points and move the ball. I think Seattle also will struggle, but they should be able to get into field goal range 3 or 4 times. Would not be shocked to see that kicker have a very good game. If you're attacking this from an island game matchup, I think he's a very good option for you, along with these Seattle running backs, and then getting the Houston pass attack involved is probably how I would be attacking this game. And with this pass protection, Seattle's defense might be a good option as well. So interesting one there. I might play some of that on DraftKings to see how well I can do, but I feel pretty confident in this game kind of going the way we're projecting it to in the adjusted line play report. Anyway, that's going to do it for this week's show. I do appreciate you watching. If you made it this far and are not subscribed yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. But really, the name of the game here, I'm going to give you some info. You take that info and make a little bit more informed decisions about who you're putting in your daily fantasy lineups, who you are placing prop bets on, what you're placing prop bets on, and then also who you should get in your lineups against your league mates, and hopefully making some of those tough start-sit decisions a little bit easier for you. So anyway, that's what we're going to do. That's the show for today. I hope we can go out there and win some money together. Peace.